Okay, so to get the point of where the word motherfucker is coming from, we're going to have to listen to this whole explanation, because we're going to start with a fascinating point of silence. It means, where have we as humans learned to pretend and remain silent in the face of our deception? Go back to when you were a child, innocently playing with all the goodies that surround in the house, and you notice there's a nice square box on the wall with holes in, and like a child you're investigating, so you want to find out what is those holes in the wall, and best way is to put your finger in there. And as your finger starts to go in there, it gets a little bit stuck, it doesn't want to quite go in, and the next moment you hear your mother scream. You turn ice cold inside, in absolute shock. Freeze! You're in mortal danger. Something is seriously wrong with your mother because she's screaming. You don't understand a word she's saying, but it's got something to do with these holes in the wall. Apparently you can't put your finger in there, but then why is this hole open? I mean, this hole is there and it's open, and your finger can actually, if you put a little bit of effort, your finger will go in there. And you burst out crying. And your mother slapped you on the finger or grabbed you and pulled you away with great speed, putting lots of pressure on all your inner organs as you pull you away in great fear, and you're aware there's great fear because apparently you're in danger. You'll only later on find out and understand that you nearly put your finger into an electric plug in the wall, a wall plug situation. But now the story continues. As time progresses and you start to grow older, you pick up on it that if there is a certain voice tonality in your parents' voices or in their behavior, a certain tension, that the possibility that they are going to shout, scream, or push their finger up your nose and saying to you, don't do that, increase dramatically. Obviously, you being a very well adapted life form that is focused on survival, you start to prepare the way of how to deal with these events, because you don't really want to experience these events. You want to be able to handle them and get past them without this feeling where you are in absolute fear of what your parents is going to do. So you start to breathe, and in that breathing you find a place within yourself where you remain silent, because it's as if your parents can see your thoughts, so you don't even want to think. So whenever they are attacking you, you don't want to say yes or no, you don't want to say anything, you just want to remain silent, or you want to say, I didn't do it, it wasn't me. And if you can, you'll even blame one of your siblings. As long as you can get away from this wrath of God, because what is quite clear is that the only force in your life as a child that has dominion over you and that can bend you and break you and force you to do whatever it wants, whatever suits it, is your parents. There is nothing else. I mean, everything else in your total reality from the moment of birth is rather irrelevant. You might have some parents or some uncles or aunts or grandparents also in the picture doing similar things. But what do you learn there? You learn an interesting thing. You learn to pretend that you're not being affected by what it is your parents are saying. And you find out an interesting thing. It's possible to lie and get away with it if you use this pretense, this fake face, fake feeling inside, this fake silence, this fake point where you do not think, where you can look somebody in the eye and pretend there's nothing wrong, and that you're quite okay. And you can even eventually get to the point where while you're looking in somebody's eye, in your mind, you will go, and there's this voice you call you, will go, fuck you. I mean, you don't know whether I've done it or not. You don't know the truth. You can't blame me. I didn't do anything. But meantime, you did. Because you've learned one thing, which is a fascinating point. If you admit your guilt, you will be punished. So therefore, at all costs, you must never admit guilt. And even if you've done it, whether you did it or not becomes irrelevant. What becomes relevant is your survival at all cost. So here you are being fucked by your mother. Which is fascinating within that is that this anger with your parents will escalate. And you'll get to the point where later on in your life you'll say, I will never do what my parents did, I won't live like them, but you end up doing exactly the same because these fears of multiple dangers in the reality of earth is transferred to you, and you eventually, through experiences where you challenge some of these fears on these points that was placed on you, you have learned that there is a consequence. That's, for instance, when you're young, you'll end up using drugs in many cases extensively, or alcohol, or you will abuse sexuality, until at some point the pain and the hurt and the consequences become too much, and then you'll stop. Most people that abuse these things will eventually stop. And they'll only do it in their youth, and they'll only do it because of two reasons. One is their parents say they shouldn't do it. And secondly is because their friends are doing it. Their peers are doing it. So you have 2 points pushing, and then you will live in a world of pretense because you'll walk into your home and pretend you're okay even while you're on the influence of drugs. And you will just be normal, and so multiple levels of suppression exist within that.